Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel's Strike Force, and in today's video, I want to talk about Knull. What I really want to talk about is whether or not he is gonna have much value when we do eventually unlock him. Now, we've seen some of the stuff regarding the return to Battle World and how many shards that we're expected to get. For some of us who were on the higher end of Battle World, we can expect to get Null unlocked within the next 5 weeks. So that's going to be this upcoming run of Battle World, and then the next time it runs the following month. And my question is whether or not he's going to be good at the unlock level of 4 yellow, and so far 0 red, because we have no idea, whether or not we're going to get reds associated with that, where that's going to come from. They haven't said anything about that at all, at least as of recording this video. Maybe something's changed. So I want to take a look at his stats. I want to compare it to some of the characters that I have in my roster, and where we're going to see use for him. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. So the first thing that I wanted to start off with is the stats table for Knull. Now, specifically, I have this. Okay, so let's just assume we take him to 105. By the time we get him unlocked, right? Most people are going to be at 105. Or, not everyone, but there will be people at 105. Gear tier 19, all that stuff. 7775, purple 3, striker. But I've put 4 yellow, 0 red because I want to see what his stats look like. So let's zoom in a little bit here, and we have Knull here at 689,000 power, with 6.8 million health, 397,000 damage, rounding up, 200,000 armor, 60,000 focus, 60,000 resist. So why is that important? 6.8 million hit points is where we'll unlock Knull at. And keep in mind that it's going to take another 2 months to get a 5 yellow with potentially no reds, right? Because I think, unless I mathed wrong, for the 100 shards that you're getting at D5, unless that goes up, I think that it's going to take another 2 months to get to 5-star, right? Which without the reds probably isn't going to make a significant difference to the stats, anyways. So this is my Odin, and like I could go to Mephisto as well. I mean, he's 7/7. Yeah, I got lucky, because I did it within the first month. And his stats with the reds is like 12.6 million. This is at 103 too. It's not even at 105, so it'd probably be like 14 million, maybe at 105. So that's approximately like double the stats of Knull, at least in the hit point category. 400,000 damage. Yeah, it's probably going to be about double, I would say, in almost every stat category for the most part. And so is Knull even going to be competitive, when he is available in the meta, for what he's supposed to be in the arena meta too. And we'll talk about his kit, because I wonder if he's just going to be someone who's just there to stop them from doing certain things, and he's not actually going to be that powerful, because of all of the new era. Now, keep in mind that we probably we might actually be unlocking him a little bit earlier than had we got 10 shards every single week. But I'm just wondering whether or not they had all of this in mind, as new characters come out, the stat creeps, which is a slow creep, but a creep nonetheless. The stats are increasing patch after patch a little bit. And so that kind of curvature is interesting to note. Now, let's take a look at Knull's kit, his traits, right? So he's cosmic, he's not mythic. Which means that he might have some applicability in future dark dimensions, something like that, or even existing dark dimensions, possibly, depending on where you are when you unlock him, as far as your progress in your roster. He's a symbiote, but the symbiotes that you would be using him with are extremely outdated, and we don't have a new symbiote team or a 2.0 era symbiote team. So I'm not exactly sure where we're going to be using him outside of arena, because he is going to be used in arena for a handful of reasons. And I want to start with his passive. So characters killed by Knull cannot be revived. Sure. So it's specifically characters killed by him, which I think until he gets reds and you get other things, this might not be that easy to do necessarily, opposed to other characters killing the enemies. On spawn, defense up for 2 turns, and apply +1 darkness to the enemy with the highest damage. As a reminder, darkness is a unique mind control mechanic, basically. On this character or ally's turn, heal 5% of his max health. Okay. If this character's health is full, instant barrier for 5%. Okay. Per enemy with darkness. So if they all have barrier, then he gets like 25% on any character's turn. So, I mean, he has the possibility of having like a shit ton of barrier. So I guess that's positive. Gain 50% assist chance, plus 15% assist chance. Sorry, 50 plus 15 per villain ally, and an additional 15% assist chance per symbiote ally. Okay, so I guess that means if there's a villain symbiote, like a single villain symbiote, that should be 50 plus 30, or like just say Red Goblin, something like that. So two villains, or maybe Carnage and Red Goblin would give a 100% assist chance. So that's nice. He also gains 10% speed per symbiote ally, and then symbiote allies also gain 15% speed and piercing. Now this is per symbiote ally. This can stack up. He does summon his own, like I believe it was called Absolute Carnage or something like that, like a new Carnage-ish variant. And so this has no cap, it would seem. He also cannot gain trauma, stun, or slow. So that's good. I think that's also similar to Odin can't get trauma, or is that only under charge? His speed bar cannot be reduced, and this is the important thing, is that enemies cannot become empowered. So there's two particular characters in mind where this impacts. This is going to be your Apocalypse, right? Which he goes into his, once he uses his ultimate, he does the wave attack, and he goes into a power form, and then he does the Falcon, with the quote unquote the Falcon punch, right? Which is going to do 60% of target's max health. So he can't do that. Empowered Apocalypse not happening. But more importantly is that it blocks Mephisto. So it blocks his empowered form, which is his books, right? Where he pulls out the scrolls, and he does that. Notoriously, it's the ultimate version, which applies the exhaust to all enemies. So this is not happening. In an arena context, it absolutely neuters Mephisto, and it absolutely neuters Apocalypse. Does not necessarily neuter Odin, but if somebody has Knull on the defense, there's probably no reason to run Mephisto. I don't know. I mean, I guess no, he can't go into this. So like his regular skills are just not even really that big of a deal, because it's when he leaves the empowered form that gives him like the automatic free turn kind of thing. So I think he's basically effed out of the arena meta as soon as we get him in about 5 weeks time for Knull. So there is that, right? But as far as like Knull's damage capability, I don't know if he's going to really hold up, or if he's just there. His only purpose right now, anyways, is going to exist to screw up the arena meta so that you stop using Mephisto or something like that. I don't know what the arena meta is necessarily going to look like. It might upend it still, but I also wonder, with Xavier around the horizon as well within the next month, how much that's going to get impacted too, or what they intended it to look like, I guess, with the combination of Knull and Xavier. So the darkness mechanic is pretty lengthy, but basically it's a mind control action that does additional damage based on how many stacks of darkness. I think they also can't gain speed up with darkness. So a lot of this, I think, will be more applicable outside of arena. I think, in more other PvP game modes, there's some drain mechanics, more speed mechanics, plus 10% speed for each enemy with darkness, which is interesting actually, because he gets up to 50% speed for enemies with darkness if there's 5 enemies with darkness, but for self and all symbiote allies. But he also gets the speed per plus 10% speed per symbiote ally up here as well. So he could lap people, potentially, if there's 5 symbiote allies, including a summon. That would be 200% plus 100% speed, right? So he's basically doubling his speed. He also lowers damage reduction, damage, and resistance for all enemies with darkness by 25%. So he has a pretty strong kit where he might act as a quasi support character in some sense in the arena context, because he's all these other things that he's doing without actually doing damage. Where a lot of the kit is just kind of reliant on the passive here. But as far as his actual kit goes, I'm concerned that it's not going to do enough damage, without his reds or associated, because we're used to myth. I know he's not a mythic, but we're used to mythics having like 7 yellow, 4 red, that kind of thing. And so I'm concerned that even in this new era, that he's going to get squashed pretty quickly by characters like Odin, maybe Shadow King as well. We'll see how much the arena meta gets upended. But he might be a lot better in like PvP, like Cosmic Crucible or in Alliance War and that kind of things, or where you can use them. So the basic, yeah, I just want to talk about I mean, it's a pretty lengthy kit, I'll be honest, and I don't know how much I really want to dive into it right now, even though this video is, of course, about him. He does summon for the special when he uses that. which is available on turn one. The first time this ability is used in a match, summon one Carnage enraged ally. Is that in the game? Can we? I think he pretty much has the same. There's a little bit of variation to it, and I forget where it is. I think it's the no, maybe was that always there? The trauma part, random. Oh, this part maybe. Actually, when an enemy drops below 25% health, speed bar for self and a random null ally. I think that's different. And maybe that on kill apply vulnerable to the enemy with the lowest resistance. I don't remember that either, but maybe that was still there. So just an extra carnage, right? But what's interesting is that doesn't stop you from also running in PvP, for example, running regular carnage and this, and I wonder if it'll just double stack with with null, and that would be really interesting in a PvP context, and also the summoned enraged ally carnage gains 2 safeguarded 2 defense up. So unavoidable there, and his ultimate. I mean, this could be quite good, but just at the bare unlock, I just don't know how this is good. 2 turns trauma. Again, probably more in PvP. I'm just I don't know. It's been a long time since we've had even new era characters, right, with like no yellows, no red stars. So I don't know, I'm skeptical about how powerful this is going to be and whether or not characters are going to come out after this or shortly after this. I guess you have the vigilant they're a raid team, so I don't know if I really expect that, but let's say the Thunderbolts team, which is expected to be a PvP team, and then Hellfire Club, which is coming, and whether or not any of these new teams in like May or June are just gonna like walk all over Null because they're just gonna be newer and better. And I don't know how much they really put into thought of other characters when they're designing these teams. And so I guess I'm just wondering whether or not he is going to be kind of dead on arrival. I don't want to quite say dead on arrival, but the fact that we're getting 100 shards per month to get to 7 yellow is going to take an extra. It's 810 shards, so I guess that would be 100 shards from this, but the plus 200 for me would be 237. Yeah, so I would need like 6 more months, right? So that means it's going to 2 more months, 5 weeks plus 6 more months. So like I'm not gonna get him like until towards the end of 2025, right? I'm not gonna get him at 7 yellow. And so I guess like I'm gonna have to make do with a lesser version of him for quite a long time, unless they speed that up. Possible they might chuck more shards at us at like later battle worlds and kind of expedite that a little bit. But I guess part of me is just wondering, how good is his kit still going to be? A lot of it is related to darkness, which is unique. It's a very unique mechanic, and I don't think you can actually remove it. Although this version of darkness, I'm wondering whether or not it can be removed by Shadow King or Groot, I guess now, because he does lower. And I wonder if this version of darkness is different than the Battle World boss version of darkness. Because where's my Groot? The text of right, reduce the duration of all negative effects. Is this version of darkness a negative effect? I know that you can't do this with the boss version when you're fighting Null, but I'm wondering if the player or a character version of Null allows you to get rid of it this way as well. That I'm not too sure of. I'm not sure if they really spoke about this because there's still time until the character unlocks as well. So yeah, there is a battlefield effect also, which is interesting because this might conflict. This is going to conflict with Odin actually, and that's where I kind of want to kind of finish off with. Is that in an arena context, enveloping darkness is an enemy battlefield effect, and so is Odin's. So you won't be able to have both up at the same time, which means that it seems like in an arena context, he might just be there to stop Mephisto from doing the book, which isn't even that big of a deal anymore because Odin clears exhaust, right? So I wonder to what extent that Null is going to insert himself into the meta and where it's going to be with the existing characters when it comes to both Mephisto and Odin. And then also when it comes into the context of Xavier, right, who is literally around the corner for April-ish, and that's when we're going to be expecting him to release. And so, where is all of this going to fit together? Is Xavier going to be walking all over everyone? Is he going to have like an instant kill mechanic? I mean, people there's a lot of jokes about like where do we go from here, right? Because as far as mythics go, Odin's a pretty strong character. Mephisto was a pretty strong character. Where do we go with Xavier? Is Xavier going to have like a delete button where he just, I don't know, mind controls and just literally deletes them? I just don't know how far can we go in the power creep category that just makes him that much better, or that he just counters everyone else, right? Like, because they've slowly done that, where, like, the next best mythic is countering everyone else. We'll have to wait and see, though. That's just some musings by me about Knull. Curious what your thoughts are, especially since we will apparently be unlocking him within the next 5 weeks. I just don't know how strong he's going to be or what value he's necessarily going to be bringing to the table. Does that mean that we're going to be getting some new symbiotes around the corner? I haven't heard of anything, but I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it's never say never. They're just not in the new era stats, so I just don't know. I mean, you're probably going to want to pair him up with symbiotes, in PvP at least, and so that way it gets all the shit tons of buffs, and maybe there might be some applicability there. We'll have to see. That's it for now, everyone. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.